Hello everybody, it's Christine. It is time for BoBunny Stash Bash layout, and I'm freaking excited because this is going to be the last layout with this collection. I have been working for the past, I think, 6 months or so with this 2017 BoBunny Sunshine Bliss collection. And let me just clarify, it is a gorgeous collection. I love all the BoBunny stuff. So this is by no means like a reflection on like, whether I think it's pretty or not. It's just like, when you use the collection for so long, you're kind of like, okay, I'm kind of done with this thing. But I'm like, I was bound and determined, and I have so many more over there. So my next video is going to be another collection that I'll share with you guys. But I'm so close to done with this one. I'm so pleased. Now, I'm going to end up with stickers. There's just no getting around it. There was I don't know how I had 2 sets of stickers. I'm never going to use all these stickers. So that's going to go in the stash, which is fine. But this is all the papers with the exception of the double dots. I'm not counting the plain double dots, y'all. So if you watched my last video, you saw me. I mentioned I've got these plain double dots. I'm not kind of counting those just because they're cardstock. I can use that any kind of way. So, but I have this... I did cut into this one, so I'm going to put this, I'm using it today. But this is all I had left of the pattern paper. So my last layout I gutted for photo mats, this one and this one. And what I'm going to probably end up doing here, is I'm going to use this gray one I think as a back, and I'm going to put this guy on top of that. I haven't decided if I'm going to dip into that double dot. I may do it in order to create a third layer, I haven't decided. Something along those. I have to look at that. And then I'm going to end up covering this piece with something out of these. Because I've got these are wide enough to cover that hole. So I have to decide how I'm going to do that. And so I'm going to let the scraps kind of just drive the design. I don't have a sketch or anything like that. I'm going to just let those drive it. But the photos I pulled out are these two. So I'm kind of trying to figure out, like, these are my in-laws. They're both passed away now, but we'd all gone to Disney. And look at that. That actually that's interesting. I might could trim that then if that's the case. But I might can trim off these, make it a little skinnier. But my thinking is I'm going to put it in here because it's like, I'm going to say Nana and Granddaddy because it's just, I just come across these pictures and I just thought, I might document them just for the heck of it. All the other layouts, it seems like, have been either my daughter, mostly my daughter. I had one of my husband, I know. So I thought I need to find some other subject for this collection that's not just my daughter. So anyways, this is what I'm going to start working with here. I got to play with this just a minute. Like I said, I've trimmed off the branding strips. I know that, but I think I'm going to trim this down. And I'm going to look at this. I may end up, like I said, I may need to mount this piece on something because it's kind of getting lost between the two. But let me kind of do that, and I will come back on. And I'll probably trim these just a hair as well. And I'll come back on and let you guys see where I'm at. All right, talk soon. Okay, gang, quick check-in. This is going to sound like blasphemy, y'all, but don't fuss at me because I'm trying to use these papers up. But I have taken this green cardstock. It's regular. I just trimmed off the braiding strip, 12 by 12. And then I took my little piece here that's been gutted here, and I just trimmed off a little 1/4 inch, give it a little inside. And then I took another piece of green cardstock double dot, and I cut off a 1/2 inch, right? And then I took this little stripe here, and I cut off another little 1/4 inch. So I've got 4 matted pieces here, which I think looks kind of cool. I did trim these down to 3.5. They're 3.5 by 6. I'm not going to trim them down anymore because if I try to trim them, take off all my food here. I mean, if I kind of, brought it down like this to do, I just think I'm going to lose too much of that picture. And plus, I have plenty width here to kind of create little photo mats. So I'm probably going to mount these on green because I'm going to take these papers here and I'm going to just start I'm going to have to trim them down a little bit because it's going to look weird otherwise. But I'm going to layer these up. I kind of like this yellow. I might use this yellow here. And just kind of go back and forth, I think, on layering maybe. So I gotta play with that. Or I may end up matting. I say that. I may end up matting them on this. And then on that. That's kind of pretty too. So I might do that. But anyway, my point is I'm going to try to use as much of this paper as possible. So let me get to cutting and I will come back on in just a minute. Well, y'all, I used all the papers. I think I end up with, I don't know. I was counting. I was trying to figure out how many pattern papers here. I think I end up with either 7 or 8 different patterns on here. if not more, honestly, when I start talking about other things. But I didn't have much embellishment because at the end of this thing, I just layered and layered and layered and layered. And there really wasn't much need or space for embellishments. And I didn't have much with the collection anyway, so it worked out just fine. So what I've done is I've taken the two photographs. I did kind of overlap them. I don't usually do this. I don't usually overlap my photos like this, but I thought, you know what? I kind of think that looks neat. And I'm going to be adding all kinds of layers. So I overlapped the photos. I guess I'm off the side cutting stuff because I did put the little polka dot paper behind the two photos. And then I used the green double dot to mat it again. And I don't do it for just a second, but I'm going to end up finding one more pattern paper and mounting it again. So I'm going to end up triple matting these two photos here. But first I'm going to decide on this pink here. I did scuff the edges of the pink. I scuffed the edges from most of the papers, to be honest. I scuffed the edge of that pink one there, and I'm using this to kind of cover up that hole that I pointed out to you guys right there. You can see it. And I used the pink, and I'm kind of just trying to figure layers here. And I'm going back and forth. And then I said, oh, I guess I need to scuff the edge of this thing. Now, I intentionally left a little bit extra on the right-hand side. I thought about adding, some embellishments and that sort of thing, but I didn't. But in the end, I kind of liked it because I felt like it balanced out the page a little bit. So it's intentional initially for a different reason, but then it ended up being intentional for, at the end, I just like the balance of it. So that's my photo right there, and this is maybe where I decide on another mat, or maybe not. I think I do this first. So I'm going to scuff the edge of this pink paper, and I don't actually put full-on adhesive behind these things because I do figure I might need to move things around. So I'm kind of figuring on this, and this yellow one here, I don't think I've trimmed it down yet. I'm going to have to trim it down in just a second because it's too long. And I'm trying to figure, do I want it to be taller than the pink, shorter than pink? I'm just kind of looking at it here. And so I've cut the top part off, and I'm going to end up scuffing it up a little bit as well. And so those two right there make up my first layers. And again, I know I'm going to end up layering more, so I don't really glue them all real tight together or whatever. I'm just kind of trying to figure stuff. And again, I'm trying to alternate colors a little bit, the pink, the green, the yellow, back and forth. So this is my first basic layers. And then I thought to myself, well, I need a little horizontal shelf. So then I go look over there, and I've got some scraps that are, more narrower. And so the first one I grab is that little polka dot, and then I add the little stripe, and then I decide I need a solid. But then I'm looking at this little piece here. Y'all, I'm just picking all kinds of stuff up. I look at this little piece here, and I don't know what that shape is called. I can't tell you what I know there's a name to that shape, but I can't think of it. And I'm thinking to myself, well, it might look good behind the pictures, but I set it aside for a minute. I can't decide on that just yet, so I set it aside. So here's where I'm just kind of debating, okay, what do I need to do next? I think I've got my horizontals there. And if I'm honest with you, I do not remember now if I go ahead and I decide I'm going to tear the ends of the horizontal pieces. So I'll do that maybe now. I don't remember what I do next. I'm just trying to figure out my little layers here. Oh, I go ahead and scuff the edge of my yellow. Like I said, y'all, I'm kind of all over the place because I'm just trying to figure out, I've got these scraps over here and I want to fill them out. So that's what I'm going to kind of just keep on doing. I'm just going to come back and forth on layers, and then I'll create my horizontal shells, and I'm going to tear those up and make those a little scuffy and stuff like that. So I'll tell you about the photos just real quick. So again, as I mentioned, this is my in-laws, and they both passed away. This was the last day. We had gone in 2006, and you can see it on their t-shirt too. My daughter's 8th birthday. We took her out of school the last day or two to take her to Disney World. Her teacher was not happy with us because she says it caused so much distraction in the classroom. The other kiddos just couldn't help but talk about it. I'm like, well, I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry. You have to get over that. Because it's my daughter's 8th birthday and we're going. So we did take her, and we actually went to have, was it dinner? I guess it was dinner at Cinderella's Castle on her birthday. So that was kind of neat. But this particular set of photos here was our last day. We had all gotten matching t-shirts. I actually have another photo of the family where we're all wearing matching t-shirts. But this was our last meal there. It was at this little restaurant. I cannot tell you the name of it. I'd have to go look it up. But they had little sandwiches and stuff, and they were just so cute. Here's where I'm adding another layer, by the way. I've got the pink and the yellow, and I decided I need to add some green back there because I had a scrap of it laying there. So I'm going to add some green. And again, I'm honestly just picking things. I'm just picking up these pieces of paper and just adding layers. And, of course, scuffing the edges of all these things, too. So I know I've got this strange little stair-step looking deal, but I will address that in just a minute with one of my other little picture frames I cut out. But that's going to take me just a minute. I won't do it just right yet because I'm not 100% sure. I kept trying to look in my ephemeras and things like that to see if I couldn't add, things, but it just, I end up not doing it really. It just ends up with something different. And then I don't know why I'm shifting this paper or this pictures to the left of that pink. I end up not doing, yes, I do too. This is where I decided that I need to mount it there. That's what I did. I like that floral. I think there was one lead. I might have cut some of those florals out of there, but in this case, I'm just using it to soften up the picture edge there. And that looks kind of pretty just like that. It's funny because the picture on the left there had her sleeve in it, so they were sitting right next to each other, but I'm looking at her lunch right now, too, and it looks real good. It's a chicken salad sandwich. I can tell by looking, with a little bit of potato salad with red potatoes and some fresh tomato. And I'm kind of hungry, so that's looking pretty good right there. He got a Reuben. I can tell by looking at the rye bread. Reubens are not my favorite, or they haven't been. But I've had one recently up in, we were in Nashville, and it said it was really good. I'm not going to lie, and I've never really liked sauerkraut, but I actually enjoyed that. I think this little place here was some kind of little ice cream parlor, too. I kind of remember us having ice cream. It's right there on Main Street. I think not too long after you walk into the park is where it was. I remember my daughter might have found it, or I might have had it in a book. I used a book back then to plan all this stuff. This is back before digital stuff, really. I mean, we had, did we have cell phones? I feel like we had cell phones. Y'all, I feel like an old lady right now trying to remember that stuff. I saw a TikTok earlier today, and it was this Gen X lady, or no, it was a man. It was a man. He was carrying on about being old and all the different music groups and MTV when they used to play videos. And, we used fax machines and rotary phones and all this stuff. And I'm thinking, God bless, I know every daggum one of those. I am old. But that's okay. I'm a Gen Xer, and I feel pretty good about that. Okay, so I've scuffed up the edges of that stuff. And again, honestly, guys, this is mostly just layering. There's not just a whole lot to tell you other than I'm just layering the crap out of this thing. I probably should have cut some of this out. Oh, so this little piece right here, I do trim that pink off of there. So I will cut the pink off the edge of that, and I will cut that down, and I'm going to use that behind the pictures, but not just quite yet. So here I go looking at these stickers again. If I'm 100% honest with y'all, I don't use any of these stickers, and I'm kind of sad about it. I should have. I have 2 sheets of it, but I couldn't make it work. Just nothing stuck out to me that I could make it work. Those stickers, everything is so square. It's just hard for me to use them anymore. I'd probably have to cut some of the pieces out, and I was feeling too lazy to do that. So here's where I've decided I'm going to use these letters, these little chipboard letters here with the patterns on it, and I'm going to spell out Granddaddy and Nana, or I was going to do Nana and Granddaddy, because that's how we used to always say it was Nana and Granddaddy, but it worked out better to do Granddaddy and Nana, and you'll see why in just a minute. I'm trying to figure out where to put this title, but Granddaddy's such a long word. And then I also kind of got into trouble because I didn't have any little bitty A's anymore, so I had to use a big A on Granddaddy. So I kind of end up with a mixed capitalization, I guess, on Granddaddy, but I mean, it looks okay, but it just was like, oh crap, I don't have another small A here, so... but I ended up having to do, like I said, Granddaddy and Nana. I was kind of excited there was an ampersand in these letters, and I stuck it on the little shiny, well, I don't think I see, it's not out just yet. You'll see it just a minute. There's one little embellishment that has a little shiny border that I'll pull out in just a minute, and I'll stick that ampersand on it. But for the moment, I'm just spelling out Granddaddy. I don't know why I left this in here to make y'all watch me do this, other than I guess to see all the letters. I've mentioned this before. It's kind of neat in the sense like there's the pattern paper has been repeated on the letters, but it can make it tricky to use it on top of these pattern papers. And I mean, honestly, in person you can see it. On the camera, I would suggest it's a little harder to read the letters. But you can see it in person, so it's okay, but it's definitely hard to see. They're almost kind of meant to be used, I think, on a solid, if I'm honest, because they're definitely, covered in pattern. But this whole layout's just covered in pattern, so it's all right. It's just all in theme, right? Okay, so, and I will end up using my Nuvo glue to glue all those down because they're just not really that sticky, which is not unusual. Everybody knows that, but I'll have to do that. So I'm going to reorganize these just a little bit, and like I said, I'm going to put the ampersand on a little shiny... what's that, chipboard like decoration. So there you can kind of see it right there on the lower right corner. And now at this point I've cut out that little shape out of that cut apart, and I've stuck that behind the photographs. And then the next thing I've got going on here is I'm just trying to think, can I use something else out of this collection, right? Because I hate to put much of this back. I do put some of it back, but not much. I'll show you in the end how much I had left over. But I stuck that key one there, and then I'm going to stick this. I did have to trim this pink frame up there because it was a little too, I had stuck that glue and I couldn't get the pink frame in behind. But I like how that looks. It's just another little layer back there. So if I'm looking at this and I count my layers, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Y'all, there's like 10 layers. That's crazy. That's just really crazy. But I'm happy I used all this paper. All right, so I'm going to glue that frame there, and I'm going to glue this frame over here. I covered up most of the embellishment on the lower right of that yellow piece of paper, but it's okay. It wasn't doing anything other than just looking pretty. It wasn't like it was part of the theme or, had to have it to give the story. So here's where you can see what I have left. All I have is those little bit of frames, a little bit of ephemera. That's my scrap papers right there. That's all I had left of the chipboard things. That's all I have left of the letters. And then my 2 sheets of stickers. And that is it, y'all. That's all I do to lay out. And I'll slow it down here so you can take a look. Look at all those layers, y'all. Just tons and tons of papers. But I used it up. So I'm so happy and so proud. So the next one I do will be a whole different collection, y'all. I got to figure out which one I want to do. Here's a close-ups. Thank you guys so much for watching. And we will see you again in a few days. Talk soon. Bye-bye.